right, so this is Sanjay Singh, your sales coach, and today we are going to talk on this very specific topic in our series for HIPo training series. And HIPo stands for high potential employees in your company. So the first in this series is what we call defining focus growth areas. So what we're going to talk about is HIPo, high potential performers in a company normally grow in a different way compared to others. And that's what we are going to discuss in today's program. We are not talking about normal growth here. We are not talking about normal performance here. We are talking about super normal performance here. So this program is applicable only to those people who are already good performers and who want to move into the next orbit of their growth. So let's begin with the program. And if you can see on the screen, the first question that you need to ask yourself in this series is, where would you like to have growth? You know, this is a very tricky scenario because once you're a high performer, you are already growing. It's not that you're not growing, but then to take a conscious decision as to which part of your growth would you like to aggrandize further, or which part of your growth would you like to accentuate to the next level is a tricky scenario, isn't it? So on this screen, we can see that there are three horizons of growth for HIPo people. First horizon of growth is what we call maintain and defend core business. So each one of us has a core business, and that core business has to be maintained and defended. Because in the process of trying to grow, if you are not able to sustain what you have already done, it should not typically become a scenario of 3 steps forward and 2 steps backwards. So we will discuss more about it as we move along, but then that is the horizon 1 of growth, which is maintain and defend core business. The second horizon of your growth is nurture emerging businesses. Yes, friends, you have to think about emerging lines of your business and start nurturing them, because something which does not exist in your life cannot grow naturally. You have to first nurture it and then take it to a growth pattern. So for example, if you are into retail sales of your product and you have never done key account management, or if you have never done OEM business, nurturing OEM business in your books is something which you have never done before. So it will fall under horizon 2, which is nurture emerging businesses. And then a top layer of horizon 3 is there, which says that create genuinely new business. Right? So when you create genuinely new business, so the word create itself means that you are doing something which never happened earlier. Hence, we are using the word create. And genuinely new business, we are using the word genuinely so that it is not old wine in new bottle. It is something which is genuinely new to the bottom line of the company as well. So friends, we are talking about 3 horizons of growth, and every aspirant of HIPo class or every aspirant of HIPo training must understand, appreciate the 3 horizons of growth and try to start incorporating these 3 horizons of growth in their lives respectively. Now let's quickly go and understand each one of this. So this is horizon 1, which talks about lock your core business. Now, what do I really mean by locking your core business? Well, I mean that you must lock who are your customer silos. So what are the customer silos that you're already dealing with? What are the list of the customers that you deal in this customer silos? And what is the ETC quantity that you already deal in these customer silos? And what is the ETC revenue that you're getting out of these silos? And ETC stands for expected to the company. So when you have, if you're working, then you must have defined your customer silos. You must be having a list of customers who are doing existing business to your company. Hence, from those customers, the quantity and the revenue that you're getting are known as ETC quantity and revenue. So when we say, let us lock your core business, what I'm essentially trying to say is, let's lock our customer silos. Let's lock our list of customers, their quantity and revenue. This has to be maintained and defended. Okay. The horizon 2 of our growth is nurturing emerging business, where you ask this question to yourself: where do you want to grow from scratch? Why we ask this question? Because there are a lot of places where you have already grown, right? And you're trying to defend those areas. But what are those areas where you actually want to grow from scratch? Interesting, isn't it? You'll have to scratch your head and find out what are those areas. And normally, emerging business will either come from OEMs, from key accounts, from strategic business partnerships. So these are some of the areas from where you can look at emerging business. This is just an example. There could be a line of business where all these three categories do not apply. So it's very specific to the industry that you are into. Moving on, horizon 3, create genuinely new businesses. So create genuinely new business normally comes either as a new product, or as a new silo, or as a new geography, or could be a new selling type. So if you have never dealt with exports before and you start dealing in exports, I will call it a new selling type. If you have primarily been dealing in North India and you suddenly start dealing with South India, I'll call it new geography. If you have never dealt in polystaple fiber before and you suddenly start looking at master batches for polystaple fiber, I'll call it a new silo. All right. I call it a new product, I'm sorry. And within additive master batches, if you have never dealt with the food industry silo before, then I'll call it a new silo. So you understand what is the horizon 3 that I'm talking about. So all said and done, HIPo performers grow in 3 horizons. So if you're an aspirant for HIPo, you have to understand that you have to start growing in 3 horizons. Actually, you're giving 3 dimensions to your growth. And when you give 3 dimensions to your growth, you do not grow horizontally or vertically, you grow exponentially. You actually start growing in 3 dyads. And all these 3 vertexes of growth gives a 3-dimensional facet to your personality, to your business, to your outlook, to your outreach to the market, and you become a very strong candidate for becoming to be known as a HIPo manager. So friends, this is my first in the series of high potential performers, series 1.1. Please stay in touch with me and let's begin our discussion of how to become a HIPo growth performer.